Hello and welcome to the SFCA podcast. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Miguel Pena from the Southern Florida Concierge Association. I want to thank all those people that are participating this morning as our numbers increase. We've got some great panelists. The legendary, and I use that word very discreetly, Bill Talbert will be on with us, as well as Wendy, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Miami and Beaches Hotel Association. Ceci, Velasco, Executive Director of the Ocean Drive Association, and then Andrew Wobensmith with all that fun information and great information that gives us a outlook on what the future is going to bring to us, both on passenger payloads, cruise line traffic, as well as hotel occupancy. So we look for a very dynamic show. So let me start now by introducing you to a person who doesn't need any introduction. If you've been in Miami for the last 30 plus years, you probably wouldn't be mistaken if you said that Bill Talbert had something to do with almost everything, from hotel brands to new airlines to cruise lines to the revamping of the Miami Beach Convention Center to the Adrian Arch Center. Just look around you, and Mr. Talbert and the Convention and Visitor Bureau have done an exemplary job of bringing Miami to the forefront. He wanted me to refrain from doing this long introduction, so I will, in his honor, and just give you, and I'm going to quote David Whitaker, who mentioned on the last call that just like the TV show Everyone Loves Raymond, everyone loves Bill. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Talbert. Bill, welcome.
Thank you, Miguel, and it's good to be back. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time in 18 months I put my sunglasses back on, and it's really because you and the Concierge Association may shine in our community. So I need the sunglasses on because the brightness of your organization, and also the bright future we have here. And I'm going to give you some high points, and I'm actually I love these sessions because of Andrew's reports and his numbers and business intelligence. So I'm going to speak very fast so we can get to, obviously, Wendy, Ceci, and Andrew. But I've been honored to be in this town. Actually, I came to this town 50 years ago. I worked for MiamiDade County. I was a park planner involved in many of the park developments in our community, including the War on Poverty and model cities. I then went with my mentor, Merritt Sterheim, and he's watching, to Women's Pro Tennis, Women's International Tennis Association for 5 years, at global headquarters here, and then back to the Bureau some 31 years ago, or 11,253 days ago, if you're counting. So it's, our destination, the Miami brand, Greater Miami, and now we call it now Greater Miami and Miami Beach. We've had our ups and our downs, but I can tell you, I'm going to be wearing these sunglasses for a long time. Our future is as bright as it has ever been. And I'll tell you, I mean, and Andrew has these numbers for a time. We're leading the country in RevPAR, revenue per available room, the one number that hoteliers, that's what they focus in on, leading the country. And that's even doing so well that we've been doing, and we closed down March 16th, 2000, as well as we were doing, I call it a four-legged stool. And we've been living on vacations. And, look out the window. But there are a lot of great places with beaches and sunlight, but it's called the brand of Miami. Miami International Airport is the only airport served by more than 100 airlines. So we're leading the country with one leg of the four-legged stool strong. What are the other three legs? International. Basically, you can't get into the country. So as I think was announced at Powwow recently in Las Vegas, and our team were there and with Mr. Whitaker and our team. November 8th, next week, international visitors can come to the United States. You got to be vaccinated and all that stuff, and most of us are. I certainly am, and all of that. But next week, November 8th, international visitors will be able to come to this country. Now, if you look at MIA, we're one of the top, maybe number 2 international gateway into the United States. We have a strong partnership with Brand USA, and their job is to bring international visitors to the United States, and Miami is one of the top gateways. So that's the second leg of the stool. What's the third leg of the stool? Meetings and conventions. That's been face-to-face meetings, globally have been slowly coming back. And we have a new reimagined Miami Beach Convention Center, soon 800-room connected headquarter hotel. We're excited about that. So that's leg of the stool is going to come. And then the fourth is cruising. We've all followed that, and we're the cruise capital of the world. We own that phrase. And if you talk, and Wendy can talk to you about the importance of the cruise industry to the hotel industry here, both in downtown and with compression on Miami Beach. So here we are, one leg of the stool strong. International coming, conventions coming, cruising coming. So the future is very bright. We're a big event town. We've got Formula One coming in May. Formula One, and I've been watching those shows on the weekends. They were in Russia. They were in Turkey. This is the number one kind of luxury sport. And thank you, Mr. Stephen Ross at Hard Rock Stadium, building that new track. That's very exciting. And, I can't wait to hope Mr. Ross is listening so I can get my pit pass for Formula One. But, we were with the Orange Bowl team last night. We've got a semifinal college game coming up in December, the end of this year. And also, we cannot wait for the return of Art Basel Miami Beach. Art Basel Miami Beach. They have 3 shows. That is the most successful of their shows. And that actually talks about, art and culture. We're more than a beach. We've got beaches and we've got hotels, but Art Basel, who's now been here 20 years plus, is really shows the world that we're one of the top destinations in the world. So once again, I think why are we having success? Because we all work together. We're all involved in some of these international boards and stuff. And in other cities, they fight. The Bureau fights with the hotels. The Bureau fights with the airport. We are all working together. It's about partnerships. That's one of the reasons we're successful. And I give a shout out to Wendy and Ceci. Those relationships, those positive relationships, do not exist in many places around the country. What am I going to be doing going forward? I'm special advisor to David Whitaker through the end of September. So I'm going to be looking for maybe some branding opportunities. And in the 50 years I've been in this town, I've worked for 3 companies, and I was looking at between one job and the next. I never took a day off. In fact, one time I worked 2 jobs. So I may take a nap, travel. We do travel, but I love this town. I ain't leaving. I'm staying here because this is the place to be. And once again, I'm going to say it again. Our future is so bright, so incredibly bright. Look, we got Brightline coming on November 8th. High-speed rail, all of these things, a tunnel to the port, new art and culture, new hotels, new neighborhoods. Some places, they can't expand, and it's not a zero sum coming. You look at Wynwood and Little Havana, Little Haiti, and the West Grove and Overtown. I mean, these neighborhoods distinguish us from the competition. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Bill. So you obviously said what you're going to do in semi-retirement. What do you do for fun? Obviously, you've done many things. You've been the brand ambassador for Miami for many, many years. What does Bill Talbert do for fun on his quote unquote day off, if that even exists?
You're going to laugh at this, but what I do for fun is I work and I stay engaged. If you want to get me crazy, take me off the internet, take me off texting. And what gets me excited is this kind of stuff and this kind of stuff. And in this business, we travel. And of course, everybody thinks that's glamorous. And if the people on the call that know, when you go to a trade show, it's brutal. It's brutal. Sometimes you never see the cities, but I have a great wife, Cindy, the wife for life. And so, what makes me happy is being engaged.
Great. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. And thank you for your contribution to the success of this community, as well as our industry. You've certainly left your legacy, and I'm sure there's more to come. The chapter's over in one part, but I'm sure the book is still yet to be written in other chapters. So thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
We move on to Andrew with all of our latest updates. Andrew, you want to go ahead and try the share screen module and pull everything up? 1 second.
This is why I'm on the call, to hear Andrew's report.
And it's a good one, too. It is a good one. Andrew, you are on. Thank you.
Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen okay.
We see it. Just go ahead and open it up to presentation from beginning.
It should
This
be.
way it
Can you
opens
see
up.
it?
Yeah, but I still see the cues on it. You want to, from over here from beginning, mark the left PowerPoint.
I see the beginning page here.
Okay, go ahead. That's fine. Go as it is.
Okay. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Miguel, thank you for asking me to come back and give another update. I really enjoy this. From a research perspective, it's really great to talk about the results of what we see out there. This gives me the ability actually every month to really catch up on the data that we collect. We collect a lot of data on tourism, and some of it's more relevant than others, but there's always a story being told with data. And I really enjoy telling that story every month. This is the third month you've asked me to come back. And what I'm trying to do every month is kind of vary this up a little bit. We'll share some of the regular stuff that we always share, but I want to share some different stuff every time. And I think for the future, should you ask me to come back, certainly, for those folks in attendance, send Miguel a note and say, hey, I'd like to see more about this, or can you answer more of these questions? And I'll be happy to dive in and see what we can give to you the next time I'm here. I will make one mention before I begin. The number one question I'm being asked right now is what's going on with international, what's coming back, what are the markets? And I can tell you that within a couple of weeks, I'll have that data. Right now, I don't have a lot of definitive data on that because it's happening right now as we speak. So within a couple of weeks, as that data comes in, I'll be able to put together a better picture. And should I come back next month, I'd be happy to share that. So with that, I'll begin here. We're always looking at our recovery indexes. I think that these indexes that we've created really give you the best quick snapshot of how our industry is doing. What we're doing is we're tracking demand. We're tracking people coming through our airports. We're tracking people who are getting into hotel rooms. People are going out and dining, and cruise, right? We haven't been talking about cruise, but now we can start to talk about cruise. Cruise is back. Cruise is back and cruise is online. And what this is for you folks that may not be so familiar with indexes, what we're doing is we're comparing to each day's value versus what was 2 years ago. And if you see a score of 100, we're saying that we're at par with 2 years ago. You're seeing a score less than 100. We're not at par. If over, then you can figure out the rest here. So what we've been seeing here, and think of these bars as hitting your gas pedal, looking from left to right. You hit the gas pedal at the beginning of the year. Where were we at? We were, obviously a fraction of where we're at now. As we've progressed throughout the year, we've seen a really steady recovery, inching up, looking at places like MIA. Passenger traffic just inched up and up and up every day, improving to a point now where we can see that in a lot of ways, we are very close to where we were at in 2019. When we look at the volume of air passengers at MIA, we see that, we're about 5% down from what it was 2 years ago.
I don't mean to interject, but your screen is not moving. You're still on the title page. If you want to check for some reason, you can go to the PowerPoint. The PDF if you want, if it's easier for you.
I apologize. I don't see it that way, but let me.
Yeah, we're still stuck on the MiamiDade industry updates page. Now I see your screen. I'm going to
Yes.
share again. Let's see if we can.
Let me, I'm going to try something here. I'm just going to
You want me to take my sunglasses off? Will that help? No?
Let me do this try. I'm not really sure why, because I can see my deck.
Let's
Is that any
see.
better?
There we go. Now we see it. Perfect.
Okay, I'm just going to share with you just a regular deck without in the presentation mode. So
That's fine.
just to reiterate what I was saying here is that these indexes show our performance as it was compared to 2 years ago. And we can see that we just had this steady improvement. As of today, we're seeing that with air travel and hotel rooms, we're almost at where we were at in 2019. And in some cases this year, we actually went back and above 2019. But we're happy to say that the performance is just humming along. We see that dining is actually up from 2 years ago. And even cruise down here at the bottom, cruise is picked up. Now, while it's 25% of what it was 2 years ago, hey, 2 years ago was a record year, and we'll take it. And we see that there's a steady pattern going up. So we expect this number to continue to improve as we go out through the rest of the year and cruise ships are coming back online. Speaking about our airport, MIA, we can see here, as Mr. Talbert mentioned, we are one of the top international passenger volumes airports in the country. And I will say we are number one. We have surpassed New York for the last couple of months. So happy to see that we have continued to maintain this number one status. If you look at those lines on the bottom, the line chart, that red line is our performance. That blue line is the entire country's performance. And we have consistently outperformed the entire country. And that has not changed with very little exception throughout the entire year. I'm very happy to say that that's been the case. We know that Florida has recovered faster overall than the rest of the country, but out of these destinations, Miami has consistently come out on top. I want to point out here, in terms of our domestic international split, in the past, we've always been used to seeing about a 50-50% split between domestic and international. And if we look at a year ago, we were about 71% domestic, 29% international, and those proportions have moved. We are now at 34% international and 66% domestic. So, as I was talking with these figures with a coworker recently, he got a little upset because he said, everybody's saying there's no international here. There's no international here. He says, there are, places like Latin America, with the exceptions of places like Brazil, they've always been coming here. Now, maybe not in the volumes that we were having before, but they've been coming here. So it's not nothing. It's just that we are going to see, obviously, our share improve as these other markets are coming back online and coming here. And we've certainly been seeing that thus far. I decided for this presentation, let's do a throwback, right? A throwback to 2020, right? It wasn't that long ago, but we'll call it a throwback because that's what I want to call it, a throwback. I don't want to go back to 2020. There's two expressions I heard in 2020. I'm tired of hearing, and I'm sure you are all too. We keep saying, oh, these things are unprecedented. It's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. There's just no way to describe our performance. It's unprecedented. And the other one we've all learned is you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. So I decided that in looking at this information from last year, travelers put their plans on mute. I'm going to share with you a couple of different studies that were going on last year. The question in this study, looking at from July of last year, they said, what are the domestic destinations you would absolutely not visit later this year? We were not on the good list. Florida being the number one destination where people did not want to go. Miami being number two, just below New York City. So certainly people did not want to come here. Their perceptions about Miami and Florida, as we well know, were that we were just teeming with COVID. You couldn't come here and this place was closed. So looking at that same study, the next question was, when do you expect you'll feel comfortable returning back to these destinations? And I want to point out here that this was in 2020 saying, when will you come back? Just over half said, well, not 2020, sometime in 2021. But even more striking was that 43% said, not even coming back to 2022, right? 2021 wasn't even on their minds. 2022, or in some cases, I'm not sure, or some cases, possibly never, right? How crazy is that? I'll never go back because of this COVID thing. I won't read the whole tweet. There's a little tweet I found that is from the same time period. I'll just read. We've joked a lot during this pandemic, but y'all seriously tripping, still getting on flights to Miami and Atlanta. So those were the perceptions that we had going on a very short time ago. I've often said this throughout different presentations, is that we're looking at an industry performance recovery, but that's not the only recovery. We're looking at a health recovery, obviously, but we're also looking at a perceptual recovery. I think that's very important because perceptions and reality are not always the same thing. People look at some of this negative media coverage as an example of Miami, and it's negative, and they get this perception in their heads, but we know that's not necessarily the case. So it's nice to see that perceptions are going to change from where they were a year ago to where they're at now, and ultimately performance of where we're at now. Another study done by Ipsos during the same time asked them some specific questions on travel. How comfortable would you be staying in a hotel in your country at some point in 2020? And these are a number of different countries. That last column being the United States, 39%. Only 39% of us felt that we'd be comfortable staying in a hotel at any time in 2020. 28% in terms of flying around our country. So I think that's pretty remarkable looking at those perceptions and where they felt they were at last year as opposed to where we're at now, making almost a full air recovery, making almost a full hotel recovery in terms of demand. On that last statement, agree, disagree. I will go back to doing all the things I did before, including vacations. And you can see here that just over half of the people that we spoke with last year even thought they would get back to normal. So interesting to show that from where we came from a year ago to now is just, a light year. Looking at some national consumer sentiment studies that we follow all the time, I think these are really important, and they sort of give us a rudder and tell us where we're potentially headed. Confidence is returning. These two really popular studies, Engine Group and Longwood's Traveler Survey, they've been pretty spot on in terms of trends. 74% in the Engine Group's Insight study says that they can't wait to go back to places like the movie theaters, shopping, etc. If you look at that little table there, that really shows you a marked difference in just 1 year. 1 year ago, 29% said they'd return to an indoor arena. Today, that's double. Looking at indoor restaurants, 45% to 57%. Outdoor from 19 all the way up to 49%, so more than double. So we've really improved. I'm sure there's still a ways to go, but I'm very encouraged personally by looking at these results coming from this study. There's been a lot of movement in a positive direction. Again, traveler confidence is picking up. I do want to point out something here that's come up in both studies that have not been coming up, as well as some other research I've been looking at, is we are seeing that, yes, people still have concerns around COVID-19, but finances are starting to become issues. The economic impacts of inflation that we're seeing right now, supply chain, is having an effect on perceptions of shopping, perception of their pocketbooks in the coming months. So I want to point that out because, yes, it is growing. It's not just about the fear of COVID anymore. It's about, will I be able to afford a trip? What are my finances going to be? When it comes to travel, we know that travel is one of those disposable income type things, and so if there's going to be people with less disposable income, or they're going to be thinking they're going to have less disposable income, they may start to change their travel plans. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I want people to be aware that that is now popping up in a number of different consumer studies. Well, how wrong were they? Mr. Talbert always says we're in the good news business, and I absolutely agree. We are in the good news business. And, while some of the experts got it really wrong, the good news is, well, they got it wrong, right? A year ago, we were looking at the forecast that we get from SCR. 1 year ago, we can see here what I did is I listed the quarter, I listed what they had forecasted and what we actually did. And we can see on the far right what that difference is. We just blew everything out of the water, right? Particularly in Q2 2021, we look at occupancy. We're more than 20 percentage points higher in occupancy than what they were telling us we were going to be less than 6 months prior, right? Similarly, we look at room rates. We look at RevPARs. RevPARs were really way above where we thought we would be. I think the most surprising number when you really quantify everything together, that bottom number, total room revenue. We were a little off when it came to room revenue. I don't know, more than $1 billion. Essentially in Q2, over $500 million. So I'm happy to say once again, we were wrong. And, we're very fortunate that, not every part of the country has recovered like we did, but, certainly I'm happy to share this information, and it is certainly a marked increase from where we thought we would be. Just looking at some quick trends, looking over the last 6 months, looking at occupancy and ADR, we can see the occupancy has still been positive. However, in the last several weeks, we're still trending down. Overall, we're still trending down in occupancy. As I mentioned, demand is a little bit down, but really contributing to some of that is just new supply that's going online. And that's really great news too, right? Given that given that even in market conditions, a lot of hoteliers said, hey, we're opening anyway. So a lot of these projects, while we do see some projects that have been deferred, in many cases, a year, 2 years from now, a lot of hotels still decided to open. So some of that decrease in occupancy is coming from the inventory needing to be absorbed. Certainly with ADR, we can see that ADR has just been positive, as I've mentioned. We're still way above. We're still trending above, almost 13% above where we were 2 years ago. So great news. I'll just mention real quickly here, I'm not going to read this whole page, but I lifted an article from El Nuevo Herald from last week, and underline here at the bottom, a couple of things that they said about travel. They're saying that MIA has planned 10% more seat capacity for the last quarter of 2021. That's fantastic, above 2 years ago. So what they're really saying is they're bullish. They're saying that we're going to see an increase and we're going to prepare to have more seats than we did 2 years ago. Happy to say that. And they do touch on the travel restrictions. As we know, foreign travelers coming to the United States are going to have to show that they're vaccinated. And they have to also show a negative COVID test performed 3 days prior. That's, of course, because they're not going to allow vaccinated or unvaccinated people, I apologize, come to our country. They're not going to be quarantined. I want to point something out that really did not occur to me until I had a conversation this very morning with a coworker, that there's been a lot of people that are coming here, international people coming here to get a COVID shot. They will not be coming here to get a COVID shot anymore because they will not be able to come into this country. I want to point that out. That was not something that was readily apparent to me. You know, we have a lot of people coming from Colombia, people coming from Mexico that were coming here because of the vaccine. As a matter of fact, back in June, when we were surveying people, up to a third of the international visitors were coming here to get a vaccine. So that will not be happening in the future. I'm hoping that vaccines become more and more available in these countries so that they can come over. The time will tell as what that will look like. Certainly our visitor mix is going to change quite a bit. Looking at Kayak, they track weekly flight search pace year over 2 years. What we've been doing is we've been tracking the top 25 hotel markets and looking at the search for air travel to these markets. And as we all know, there's been a big lag. It started in July with concerns around Delta variant, but it's improved. It's improved across the board for almost every market. What we can see is that once again, if I took all the averages of the percent decreases and put them at the bottom, you can see that Miami still trends. You know, we are less down than the other markets, and we've been recovering faster than most of the other markets. So that's really great news as well. Search activity is actually getting close to where it was 2 years ago. Looking at what our booking pace looks like for future air travel coming into MIA, this is through travel agencies, which would include online travel agencies. That accounts for about 50% of our total volume of tickets being sold to MIA. So this is a good proxy to understand what that volume of tickets and pace are coming into our airport. We can see that, yes, we're down. That solid line is as of September 30th, but that dotted line was what it was a month prior to that. We can see a very positive increase, particularly with international. That's gone up from being down 61% for October, going up to 46%. It's less bad, right? But we're going to look to watch as these lines go up. Domestic has also improved. However, interestingly, the first time I've seen this trend is that further out, we're seeing that the pace for domestic bookings they're going down a little bit from where it was. So just take note of that if you're looking at your future strategies, that we are seeing a little bit of downturn for Q1 for domestic. It doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. That means that's just what the pacing looks like for air travel coming into MIA. Just switching to hotel, we're looking at the pace of booking activity from a year ago for hotel booking. The takeaway here is that we are seeing some returns to what I believe we are seeing returns to normalcy. When I say that, we're seeing the booking pace, which used to be a month, 2 months out, and has decreased throughout the pandemic. The booking pace shortened big time to a point where people were booking, almost up to the time that they were traveling. There was a lot of uncertainty about travel, but what we're seeing is that booking pace in the short term is decreasing and it's increasing further out. So I think personally, that's great news. You can take from this, whatever takeaway or however you read this. I'm seeing that the business is getting up more and more in the longer term on the books. Conversely, with Airbnb, we are seeing a drop across the board. This is not anything new, but looking at future Airbnb activity, there's still momentum. It's just not as much as it has been. It has softened gradually, but still, we're looking at some pretty big numbers going on into next year. I want to touch on employment real quick here because it's a concern of all of ours. I think that employment could have some future concerns, have some future impacts on tourism and how it relates to Miami-Dade County. Looking at leisure and hospitality jobs and looking at non-agriculture jobs, which are everything else in Miami-Dade County, we can see that we had a lot of improvement really towards the last quarter of 2020. But coming into this year, there was some improvement. We can see that, unfortunately, we've stalled over the last 4 months or so. There really has not been any movement when it comes to increase in jobs. And it's not just leisure and hospitality. I know a lot of us have been thinking it's really just leisure and hospitality, but you can see that on the total level, it's not just that. It's really across the entire county. Now, as a state, we do know that the state itself has been adding jobs. We've been doing really well and consistently growing month after month. We also know that on our national level, we're not really making our job numbers that we would like to. So this is definitely causing some pain. I know when hoteliers are having a difficult time, restaurateurs are having a difficult time finding staff. And so I want to point this out that it's not just you, but at the same time, it's certainly an issue that we're going to continue to have to address. We talk to Florida residents every month. This is tracking over an entire year, asking Florida residents, those people that said they don't want to visit Miami, we asked them why not in the next 6 months. I know there's a lot of information on this screen, but I wanted to put it up here for you to certainly, after I'm done with this presentation, you can look at this deck and share, but also because we can see what those reasons why people gave are changing over time. We can see where they're at back in the beginning of this trend here. We can see that those things that I shaded are those that are above average. Those are not shaded or below average, and ones that I'm not paying as much attention to. And you can see, for example, down towards the bottom, the biggest issues are really waiting for a COVID-19 vaccine, which is not an issue now, obviously. But what we can see popping up more and more are things around people want to visit other locations. And that would be Florida, and that would be outside of Florida. Something else I want to point out that, and this kind of ladders up to what I just talked about a few minutes ago, some people are starting to say Miami is too expensive to visit. So once again, that's coming up in our own consumer research, that there could be some price concerns about people coming to our market that we're going to have to tackle. I'll share this with you because this is related to some of the other things I've been talking about. The American Customer Satisfaction Index. They look at industries all across the United States. I looked at hospitality, and we see some shifts here that I think are related to some of the things we're talking about. What we're seeing here, and I was at a hotelier conference recently, and they were talking about some of the slide in customer satisfaction in some hotels, and this also seems to demonstrate that as well. We see that while airlines really haven't suffered, car rentals still seem the same. Hotels have taken a slight dip. That table to the right, what I did is I looked at these different benchmarks that they list in this study. I took those that are more than 2 percentage points difference. These are the things I would say that are probably contributing most in terms of the loss of customer satisfaction. You can see with hotels, ease of check-in process down 5 points. Reliability mobile app, yes. Reservations, making a reservation, courtesy, helpfulness of staff. This is a little disheartening to see this, but at the same time, I think we need to see this. And this could very well be tied to staffing. I'll just mention real briefly, my older brother came down to see me recently, and he was in the airport, and he said as he left New York, he said there was one restaurant open in the airport. And he went to the restaurant, and there were only 2 people serving people. And he was really angry, and actually his waiter came to him and said, well, I'm actually the owner of this place. And my brother said, well, why don't you have more staff, right? And so I get it. This customer experience is being affected negatively. And while, we don't give as much context into these numbers, if you look at this study, which the link is on the bottom of the study, it will get you down to the brand level. And you would find out that really the areas where people are not satisfied in terms of the scale or the level of service would be in the higher end businesses, higher end hotels, higher end airlines. These low cost airlines, these economy hotels are not experiencing quite a bit of the drop. So I guess people have a different expectation when they're going into a Motel 6 or maybe flying an airline like Spirit, as opposed to a place where they have a greater expectation of service. So just some simple takeaways here I wanted to just give to you folks. Industry performance, we're continuing to improve. We see a perceptual recovery as well as an actual metric recovery. That's really fantastic. Want to point out again, look at those price and economic concerns. They're important. They seem to be popping up more and more. I don't expect, if we don't see any changes in our present situation on an economic level, we can continue to expect to see some of these things pop up. Along with that, employment, staffing, it's critical. make sure we're doing everything we can to get our staffing up and to retain staff. And finally, which is really related to all of this, we need to pay more attention to the customer experience. I think that's really what happens when we're losing staff, when we're busy. As we know, we've been very busy, but working with the same staff. So please pay attention to it. This could really make a big difference in your business. So I'll wrap up with that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andrew. As always, a great informative presentation. Does anyone have any questions before we continue on to Ceci? If you do, please use them in the chat mode. We're monitoring the chat mode and as well as the Q&A mode, so you can do either or, and we will answer those questions at the end of our presentation. We'll now move over to Wendy and hear an update on the hotels of how things are turning out. And I know that Andrew mentioned it. How is the employment in the hotels, Wendy, coming along? I see a lot of ads for a lot of positions. I assume it's just prior to the season, or just overall they're still in need of critical employees.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Miguel, for inviting me, and Bill, just thank you to you, because I don't think I'd be here without you. So I really appreciate everything that you did for me throughout my career.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I've been talking to, and I just wanted to share with you that I was at 2 ribbon cuttings. I love hotel ribbon cuttings for brand new hotels. The AC Hotel Dayland. This hotel is connected to the shops. It's like Ceci's smiling. Ceci, I think we need to do a women's sleepover party at AC Hotel and go shopping. I think it's really exciting. And then also the Gabriel South Beach it felt like I was at the Oscars, right? I mean, it was really, thank you again, Ceci, for I know you were very instrumental in a lot of the event planning, and it's just so exciting to see what's going on there on Ocean Drive. So I'm really excited. I wanted to just share that with you, because we're opening hotels and we're having ribbon cuttings. And tonight, Picardi Center of Excellence, ribbon cutting at FIU Chaplain School of Hospitality. So I'm loving life right now. And I think the worst is over, obviously. And I do talk a lot to our general managers, and, it's still challenging to get staffing, but definitely better. I think, as I mentioned in the last webinar we were on together, since school started, because I think a lot of people were staying home if they had kids. But, Andrew, as Gunter Richter used to tell me, figures don't lie, liars figure. So the figures are what's happening. And I think it is getting better, but we're still, everybody's challenged with it. So, but definitely it's better. It's better. And some are helping out with housing too. And I can share with you that I've been in conversation with some people in Jamaica to bring in some Jamaica workers and we told them the big problem is housing, and they have families that are here families of Jamaican workers that are in Jamaica. So that's just another sidebar thing that we're working on.
Cool. So again, would that be the answer to not finding local?
No, it's not. It's just an option. And it's really,
okay.
It's really, it's just an option that some of the hotels are looking at, not the majority of the hotels, but just yesterday I was speaking to 3 women GMs, and they all said that it's getting better.
Good. Now, question: when do you foresee, if you have access to that crystal ball, when do you foresee hotels going back to your regular normal, where there's regular day-to-day housekeeping services and turn down and so on and so forth? I know some are still limited.
Everybody's getting really busy, for Basel, obviously. Also next year, I was talking to a couple hotels in Coral Gables where they have the meetings, because, we lost meetings in the hotels, and the meetings are coming back in January. So I don't think it's going to be much longer, Miguel. I really don't.
Good. I'd love to see that full hotel experience again.
Yes.
And get rid of all the acrylic. We should have
data looks good. So
we should have like a ceremonial acrylic and mask burning at some point somewhere, so everybody can enjoy and throw in all those acrylic and all the masks. Obviously it's toxic, so let's not do that, but it would be a nice idea. It would.
And also, I want to acknowledge, I see Shelley Fano on the call with us. Shelley is they're doing such amazing work at MiamiDade College too, with certifications and training programs, and just a big fan of what the college is doing for us. I'm actually going to be a judge for food trucks. I'm going to eat all this food
Eating is good.
In December. I'm so excited. I'm going to have to fast a couple of days prior, but we're really lucky you all to be here. I mean, it's a small town. We're a big city, but it's such a small town.
True. And thank you, Shelley and Miami-Dade, for helping out all those associates that were in need some time ago. And they were gracious enough to do not only the trainings, but give them some type of stipend as well, which I'm sure went a long way and kept people afloat at their most lowest moments. So thank you. Thank you, Wendy, for the update. Ceci? You are up. So as of late, I see a lot of back and forth regarding Miami Beach with Mayor Gelber, Mayor Levine, the whole Ocean Drive thing, the 2 a.m. Bill alluded to the 2 a.m. as well. So what's going on? Give us the update.
I wish I had a crystal ball. And I think that's what everybody is kind of thinking. It's like, where is Ocean Drive going next? And it's not a small remote corner of the universe. It is an iconic place that is globally known. So, I mean, is it going to evolve into something different? Yes. We're looking at wonderful things happening. Wendy mentioned the South Beach Gabriel Hotel, which is the historic Park Central. There used to be 3 properties. They built on the lot. So it's actually 4 properties. It's about 132 keys. 3 Ink Hospitality restaurants. Meet Dahlia is already open. So that's really incredibly exciting. It's a luxury hotel. The Pelican Hotel is also opening. They've invested millions into that. And I just hooked them up with a restaurateur. So I'm really looking forward to that kind of evolution. We've got so many new restaurants on Ocean Drive that are new concepts, including the Cardozo just opened with Janet Suarez, who had Yucca on Lincoln Road. So Emilio Estefan partnered with Janet Suarez, and they have a new restaurant called Call Me Cuban, opened right in the middle of COVID. So I'm helping them with all of their permitting for their sidewalk cafe. I work really with the logistics with the city on making sure everybody's in compliance and getting their permits. But we're looking at these fabulous things opening on Ocean Drive. But if you walk down Ocean Drive, it looks like so many properties are shuttered. They're just about ready to reopen. So there is an infusion. Everybody's kind of wanting to figure out what the future is going to look like, because there is a huge amount of new investment. And there's also the historic ownerships that have been there for the Goldman properties, et cetera. Even the fish called the Avalon, right? The Tom Glassys of the world, who owns the Avalon Hotel. His father was on the original Ocean Drive Association board with Tony Goldman. So I wish we had a crystal ball. I wish I knew if it would be better with traffic or it would be better without traffic. We just kind of don't know right now. But what we do know, and I know there's a big sentiment to open it to traffic, what we do know is ADR is up from 2019. Resort taxes are up from 2019. So occupancy is up on Ocean Drive. So in comparison, they're actually doing better. The customer experience is what's at question. How can we make it so that people are not walking down the street in the rain with their luggage? I don't know if traffic is the only way, because I love the idea of people curbside, but I also don't love the idea of people driving around the district at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning with their radios blaring vulgar music underneath our hotels. So, I mean, there's a cost benefit analysis that we all have to, what are we willing to deal with? And in order to make sure that our customer experience is excellent, we have said, consider some kind of a tram, a trolley, a golf cart, an electric vehicle, consider side streets for valet, consider all kinds of different things, right? Consider, since we have an opportunity to have a blank slate, and we can look at a very creative way of doing it. After all, it is Ocean Drive. Also, I like the idea, some people have thought about doing a roundabout on 5th Street. Some people have talked about doing portions of it pedestrianized. Bernard Ziskovich, of course, is looking at the long-term vision, which will include how do we apply the $20 million in the GO bond? How do we get Raymond Jungles to really look at the park? When you look at the park, some people are saying that they want to split the park in half and pull over into the street a wider pedestrian area. Raymond Jungles is actually expanding the green space of the park, talking about getting rid of some of that swale area, which is a hard pack area that is just utility kind of vehicle area, making it really more of a central park, a New York Central Park type of thing with beautiful landscaping. I think that Ocean Drive, Lummis Park, South Beach deserves that. So I wish I had the crystal ball. I wish I knew what was going to be the best decisions. What I do know, there's a lot of minds going into it, a lot of thoughtful people, all looking at it from different aspects. There is, as you can tell, some people are very adamant about what they believe is going to be the solution for Ocean Drive. I don't know what would be the best avenue. I do know that the more communication, the more creative solutions that come to the table, the more educated our city commissioners are. And we're in election season, the better it's going to be for everybody. But I do believe, I know that Ocean Drive is reopening. The News Cafe is coming back. Right. So right now, if you go, there's a chain link fence. It looks very sad, but within a few months, it's going to be reopening as the News Cafe. Next door to that, instead of the Sushi Siam, it's going to be O Mexico Taco Shop. The Pelican is reopening. All these places are infused with funding, infused with investment, and they are reopening, and they all have a stake at how Ocean Drive is going to look in the future. Right. So, I mean, I wish I knew, Miguel. I wish I knew. All I know is everybody is focused on it being outstanding, elegant, and beautiful.
Okay. And again, from a business standpoint, I may have missed it. Do they see that a downturn in business because of that loss of traffic, or the traffic remains the same? I remember years ago, a good friend of ours, Jerry Quinn, who had Quinn's at the Park Central, Tony Goldman's old hotel. He said, Miguel, the only reason why I'm here is the traffic. I get more bodies on my seats from the foot traffic and the vehicles going up and down Ocean Drive than I do from future reservations. So is that still the same?
So, I mean, things have changed. Of course, our economy has changed. The people that are walking up and down has changed. A fish called Avalon gets reservations, right, 30 days in advance. So I don't know how dependent they are from the foot traffic. They're getting events. They're getting buyouts. They're getting people coming in from the convention center that are saying, we want to, be in your restaurant. We want to buy it out. That's not foot traffic. That's not car traffic. And I'm concerned about the cars that have been cruising up and down lately, right? Quinn's was a long time ago. It was a different generation. It was a different era. It was a different tourism. I will tell you, and Andrew sends me data all the time, and so does the city. Compared to 2019, ADR is up. Compared to 2019, resort taxes are up. So what does that mean? That means the restaurants are doing better than the last normal year. Hotels are doing better than the last normal year. And one of the difference now is the cafes are extended. So there's a lot more outdoor seating. Everybody comes to Florida to sit outdoors. Nobody wants to sit indoors, right? And so the outdoor seating, and then the ADR is up, right? So you can't argue with that. And we haven't had traffic for over a year now. Got it. Understood. Good point. What's the latest with the 2 a.m. referendum? Is that still up in the air until election? It's interesting. I mean, there's an interior battle. There are people who have their agendas and everything else about passing it or not passing it. It is a citywide straw poll. So that means it's not binding. However, it does kind of give the city commissioners and the incoming city commissioners per election the pulse of the sentiment of the residents. But it is supposed to be for citywide. But one of the ambiguous terms that are in there is the exemptions. And I think, the exemptions make it's logical to have exemptions. It's logical to have a nightlife venue go through a licensure process so that they are independently responsible for their own operations, as opposed to a blanket, you're open till 5 a.m. That kind is logical, but I don't think it's not really specified clearly in the straw ballot poll. But
Yeah.
we'll see where that lands.
Yeah, if I can add, we oppose the 2 a.m. and we really feel strongly that hotels should be exempt. Definitely.
They should. Indeed, they should. All right, perfect. We do have a question for Wendy from Ligia Larcone. Wendy, Ligia asks, she's from the L Brand Group. She wants to know why Jamaica. Why are there other countries and islands that are not a prospect for the?
They approached us and we are getting. Hi, Ligia, how are you? And they're getting in touch with us. It wasn't like we were approached by them. So it's not just Jamaica. And I'm just heartbroken. We all are. What's going on in Haiti? It's awful.
True.
It's just awful. And we have so many, as you all know, we have so many Haitian employees that have families in Haiti. So I made a call on Friday to see if there's anything at all that we can do to get some of the family members from Haiti out of there. It's just a very, very tough time right now. So I'll keep you posted on that. I hope and pray that we can help some of these people come over and get jobs, and it would be a blessing.
Definitely, indeed it would. Any questions for the panel?
I will tell you if I can.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So the parking issue in Miami Beach is really tough. I think that what we've learned is hotels cannot function without housekeepers, and restaurants cannot function without dishwashers. And we call them unicorns, because if you can find one available to go to work, it's like finding a unicorn. They're so challenging, but it's even more challenging in South Beach because of the parking situation. Now, that is one thing that we've lost on Ocean Drive without traffic, is we've lost a lot of parking. We've also lost some side street parking because of residential. So I'm a big advocate in really helping some of the businesses with some parking vouchers for employees in the municipal garages. So I think that is going to be really helpful. There's a benefit to parking. I mean, it's very expensive for a small business to buy and pay for the parking at the normal rate. I think that businesses probably should be getting some kind of a break or a voucher for parking, because that's one of the big things, is that an employee has to work almost 2 hours just to pay for their parking to go to work. So that's right off the top. So I think we're looking at these nuances about how to retain and pull in employees, and parking is one of them.
True. I know parking's a tough one, very tough. And Uber and Lyft have become very expensive as of late because of the demand. Anyone else have any questions? No? Okay. Mr. Talbert, would you like to give us any parting words? Do you have any insight on the 2 a.m. referendum or Ocean Drive from your perspective?
No, I mean, these are political discussions. It's a straw ballot. It's been on the ballot before. I think we just want to get past the election. I mean, once again, there's a bright future. Look at all the stuff. I mean, Art Basel's coming back. We're going to have Formula One, art and culture. We're more than a beach. But I actually want to. Andrew said we're in the good news business, but we were recently with David Whitaker at Powwow, now called IPW, in Las Vegas, and that's foreign buyers of U.S. travel. And at Powwow, the first day, the president announced November 8th, foreign travel can start again. I can tell you that the quality of the buyers at Powwow in Las Vegas was extraordinary. There were fewer of them, but their interest in traveling to Greater Miami and Miami Beach was as strong or stronger than it's ever been. So our whole team was very uplifted by what we heard from foreign travelers about travel to Greater Miami and Miami Beach. So it's a great future. We'll get through these things. About the staffing, I had an opportunity to testify in the U.S. Senate a couple of months ago, and I said the following about the staffing issue. It wasn't that long ago we didn't know if we were going to live or die. We didn't know if we were going to live or die. And we came and we're living. But to have that as a choice or the challenge about staff, I'll take the challenge about staff over living and dying. Thank you.
True. Thank you. Well said, Bill. Thank you very much. A big shout out to Erica, one of our new sponsors, Vlue, which is now giving direct competition to Uber and Lyft. You'll hear more about Vlue coming up. That's VLUE.com. Now, I've taken off my virtual background because Halloween is one of my favorite times, and I've got a little guest here in my behind me. If you know who he is, started in 1978. The movie Halloween. It's in its 43rd year. If you haven't seen the 2021 movie, please do so. For those of you, this is the best time of the year. You've got Halloween, then you've got Basil, then you've got Christmas, and you got New Year's. You have the book fair. The weather changes. It gets cooler. If you notice this morning, it was 70 degrees with almost zero humidity. Loving it. All to the best. So
we should do a drive-in movie.
We should. That would be awesome. Remember those? I can. Oof. It takes me back sometime. But there's some great drive-ins here locally as well. There's one in Wynwood as well. We can do as well. So, in my parting words, thank you very much to Bill. Thank you, Ceci. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, all of you that attended. My last words, I read this somewhere and it's resonated with me along with other things. It's easy to make a buck. It's tougher to make a difference. So hopefully you make a difference today in someone's lives, or if not your own. God bless. See you next time. November 17th, 10 a.m. We have our Basil presentation. So that'll be fun. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Hello and welcome to the SFCA podcast. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho, and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us.